just share with you some investment trends that you can be able to resonate with. It's really important as we come to here. This is just, I've used this slide a number of times and you may have seen it. The red dots is where really investments is coming out of. And you can see the bigger the dot, the bigger the number. So capital is flowing from North America, Europe, and the Far East and the Middle East. Those are buckets of where FDI is coming from. The blue is still where it is still going, because it doesn't mean that there's outflow. Out of a country, there's no inflow. And our agenda is to see which sectors are really progressive to be able to attract from those particular regions, as you can see. So all of us on the continent harvested that number. And then you can come to East Africa and then Kenya. And we want to see whether this number, as it continues to grow, which it has been, how can Kenya really play to attract more foreign direct investment, which is really very important. And then moving on swiftly, just to share some numbers. This is again UNCTAD data 2024. These are some of the top countries in terms of foreign direct investments. You see the US still leads, China really progressing, and Japan, etc. And we continue to see a lot of interest, both by countries. You can see where the foreign direct investment is coming from, and also a lot of domestic companies are continuing to expand. If you watched news last week, we were with the PS and the Minister for Agriculture in Flamingo in Naivasha, a local company expanding. And we will continue to showcase a bit of that because they continue to grow. And then this is the narrative of why Kenya. This I know our Chief Investment Officer, who is His Excellency the President, talks about this. The Minister and the PS use this narrative. We just always want to remind ourselves why Kenya is a really good value proposition. We have global market access. Those countries and those regions listed there give Kenya today $56 trillion market access. China is coming soon, and when China comes soon, from Kenya, that market size will grow to $75 trillion. You can imagine what a better value proposition than that. So from Kenya, the value proposition can really be so significant that you don't want to think of anywhere else on the continent except really Kenya, which is something very, very important. But Kenya is a leader in many fronts, and I know you guys have seen this. We are now the number one. We have been number one 3 years in a row on startup funding, just slightly under $1 billion. This is fresh news, which was recent. We are really good on investment momentum and competitiveness. We are number one on all those first 4 bullets you can see there. We are number 3 and on a few others, as you can see. And this is really not Kenya speaking to itself. These are global voices speaking about the narrative of investment potential in Kenya, which is really very important. And then as we continue to just drive this narrative, you would see these are just some of, I will just brush through some of the sectors where we present to investors where opportunities for investments are. In manufacturing, still a very large number of Kenyans employed, around 370,000, continues to grow substantially. We are the leader in FMCG and other manufactured goods in EAC. In agriculture and livestock, those two sectors combined about 22% of our GDP. Again, and we are big on agriculture and value addition, really substantial sectors for investment opportunities. And it is important because this narrative must be told not only locally, but also globally, so that the people can take positions on it. We are Silicon Savannah, and we know what we are doing in terms of the ecosystem in technology, from government investment in the digital superhighway, to really the good narratives on the tech startup ecosystem, the construction sector as well. You can see that is really a very good story for Kenya to tell. Tourism and hospitality, nearly 9-10% of our GDP. Again, a good story for investment. And then the last 2 slides, which you can see there, are just about the other emerging sectors where we know today they are not as big, that there's huge potential. Creative economy, 5% of our GDP today. And that's where we are really big on film, fashion, and the arts, etc., etc. What really this means for investors. Environment and forestry in terms of carbon markets, the agenda we have on 15 billion trees, mining ecosystem, blue economy. These are just the realm and the buckets that we really present to investors out there. And then finally, you would see we have got what we call the enabling ecosystem. We have a lot of opportunities on transport infrastructure and energy, and I know we have a very big agenda now to grow, for example, our energy mix from 3 gigawatts to 10 gigawatts in the medium term, and we think this really also presents very significant investment opportunities, including even our port ecosystem as well, where logistics play a very critical role in enabling business. And then what did we really do in last year through the State Department of Investment Promotion, where we fall under? Our milestones is a shared prosperity under the PS. We have now an investment deal room that is operational in this business, which is really aggregating all the transactions happening in the country, tracking them to see whether we can resolve some of them, and we're beginning to see fruits. Flamingo is one critical example we have just shown recently. We want to ensure the investor journey is really digitized, and we'll be showcasing something around that. We are now in sectors, we are not in functions, because investors play in sector. The PS's day job, and is giving us headache every day, is how can we make life easy for investors? The ease of doing business, which the ministry and ourselves are really pushing to coordinate. And then you may have seen us a lot last year, doing a lot of outbound engagements with the president and the PS and the minister, and a lot of domestic ones. And really, when you do all that, then people ask you, then what? What came? And it takes time. A lot of gestation is really something that happens. But I wanted to share with you just some highlights of really what happened. Last year was a highlight year for us. We closed $1.7 billion worth of transactions as InvestKenya by aggregating all the investments that are in the different arms of government, the agencies that are under the PS, in special economic zone, export processing zones, etc. And this is a mix of both foreign and domestic. And if you look at that trajectory, it just shows 2025 was a stellar year, which means things are really looking up. And you know, numbers normally get firmed up this quarter, so we're just about a month out before formally releasing this data. So you know what this really means, which is really important. And the jobs that these have created, you know, nearly 40,000 jobs, etc., is just really good, because what we want through this partnership to build is where we can also showcase this success. If investments have happened, like we did in Flamingo, you join us. Like we do in another company, X or Y, we go and tell the story together. Then at least we can see impact. Because the story we do in meetings is okay, but really the action is really what gets verified on the ground, which is really very important. So we will just broadly be focusing on three things as we run to this conference, and PS, I'm just about to wind up. Digitization, focusing on how to serve customers and investors in terms of digital ecosystem, really embedding ourselves in sectors and working really to debottleneck issues, and I know the PS will speak about the business climate. If we do not do this cross-cutting issues, we will not be able to fix the journey that we have there. So I'll just touch in brief as I close on the conference before I invite the PS. This conference is split up on three main events. We have the Kenya International Investment Conference on the 25th of March in Nairobi, bringing global and domestic investors together, connecting capital to opportunities, and ensuring we can showcase some specific transactions, and the PS will talk more about that. 21 countries in COMESA, our president is the chairperson of COMESA, are coming for the COMESA Investment Forum. Again, we want just to ensure the narrative of being able to have a Pan-African approach to what we do, in this case Sub-Saharan Africa through COMESA happens, and then the green investments on the third day, which is about climate and the issues that are friendly in terms of sustainability to our environment, etc. And green deals have become really the mantra of our investment is really handled. And then we want just to showcase some of the objectives. We want to sign some deals, some policies can be pronounced, and we can also promote some specific opportunities, which is really important. And of course, position Kenya as really a place to do business on the continent, as a preferred place to do business. There will be a lot of side events, and the reason I've just shared this a bit of a detail is important. We think we stand a chance to create significant amount of jobs in pharmaceutical and healthcare sector, in leather, in ICT and BPO, in agriculture, in the economic zones, in creative economy. And money is a big sector because of finance and investment go hand in hand. We want to talk about that, and there will be a lot of conversation all through the 3 days, which is something we want to just be able to highlight. And then we will, of course, want to ensure when investors are here, where do they go to see what's happening? So working with our partners, we'll speak later, like Arise, we can showcase what are some of the new investments that are happening, and we would want them to also hear from existing business, how are things going? So we are working with Arise who are here, and KCB as some of our partners, and Triffic and a few others we want to showcase. And of course, eventually treat investors to a flavor of Kenya, the magical Kenya narrative. We can take them to the national park to enjoy, the flavor of our tourism narrative, and of course sometimes for also sports, because investment is a courtship process, got many aspects, and hospitality plays a key component of that journey. So as we just come to the close, I want to check. We just want to showcase some 2 points. One is, how do you really get to know what's happening? And I want to have my colleague just showcase something briefly we ran through on just our portal. We launched our InvestKenya portal, where today, if you want to know everything I have said, just so you know, is actually on our website, which maybe many did not know. This is just our website. If you look at now, investkenya.go.ke, you can find a lot of details.